Hi everyone, Rachel here, and welcome to another episode of the Ditch the Diet podcast. So today sees the start of a series of podcasts with dietitian Kerri Major, who is joining us to help dispel some of the myths surrounding our macronutrients. Now, bear with me, I know that sounds a bit boring, but I get asked questions all the time about protein, fats and carbohydrates. Should I be eating this? Should I not be eating this? How much? Blah, blah, blah. Loads of questions. So we've broken this down into 3 episodes. Today is the first one, the truth about protein. So I hope this opens some discussion for you in regards to the questions that you've been sending in about protein and gives you some clarity as to what it is, how much we should be eating, and answers the question, do we need protein shakes to lose weight? So I hope you enjoy this episode. I'll be back at the end to tell you how you can find out more about Kerri and tell you when the next episode is due. Enjoy! So a very warm welcome to our dietitian today, Kerri, who is going to join us and talk a little bit about the macronutrients. I know that sounds really boring, but hopefully we'll make it interesting for you. But before we get going, let's just get a little bit of an introduction. So do you want to tell me who you are, what you do, a bit of background, and then we can get into it?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Kerri Major. I am a registered dietitian and my main job is mainly working within the NHS at the moment, but I also specialise in sports nutrition on the side and do that freelance, and I'm a personal trainer on the side as well. So juggling a couple of jobs. But yeah, it's all fun and all interlinked, so it's good.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. So how long have you been practising as a dietitian?
I graduated in 2012, so just over 7 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been a quick 7 years.
Yeah, and it's so nice to hear another Scottish voice. So whereabouts are you from?
So I am from just outside Glasgow, but well, most of the time I'll say that I'm from Glasgow because it's the easiest way to do it, and soon to be moving to Glasgow in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, I'll call myself from Glasgow. That's the easiest way to describe it. So yeah, another similar Scottish accent, which is good. Hopefully people can understand us.
I know. I've been living in England for a while now, and it's just so nice to hear another wee Glaswegian voice.
A wee West Coastie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what made you get into dietetics in the first place, and what was there anything in particular that pushed you into that field, or?
Yeah, I think I've probably always been someone that's been really interested in food from like a young age anyway, and it was probably from about halfway through high school. I actually took home economics in school, which I know used to be a subject that maybe a lot of people would take for a bit of a skive. I was actually really interested in it because I've just always been quite interested in cooking, and I knew that they had like a part of the kind of curriculum was to do with nutrients and things like that, so I always just had a little bit of an interest in it. So I took that as one of my subjects back in 3rd and 4th year in high school, and then that's probably where it all kind of stemmed from, that kind of directed me into doing dietetics as a career. I just found it quite interesting thinking that the different foods that we eat had like an influence on how well we stayed with regards to our health, and also they kind of touched on different bits on like digestion, but not too much at that stage, but there was just something that definitely appealed to me. So that was kind of where it all stemmed from, and then started working towards getting into uni from there. So
yeah, and you're a personal trainer as well?
Yeah, so I did that, when did I think I've been qualified since 2016 or 17, that's terrible, I think that my years are merging into one another, but I started doing that a couple of years ago with the hope of trying to fit my interest in sports nutrition together. So I went back, after I did my undergrad in dietetics, I then went back to uni to do a postgrad in sports nutrition, and I think that was back in 2015 actually I got that, and then I think it would have been 2016 I did my personal training. I've always been someone that's been active, and I was always quite keen to do personal training just as a probably one for like a sideline for myself, so that I could know exactly what I was doing when I was exercising, and I didn't really think so much that I would maybe take it into a kind of like sideline job, but it's something that's really rewarding. I really enjoy it, so it was kind of to pair up my sports nutrition work that I'm doing on the side and just helping people get active. So
Sounds brilliant. So we're gonna try and like make the macronutrients sound sexy today.
Yeah, we'll try.
It's just in response to a lot of questions that I get, and we've also got a little bit of a series going on about diet myths and myths surrounding different nutrients and things. So I thought we would cover one on each separate episode. So if you're listening to this episode, we'll have a couple of episodes coming up over the next few weeks covering carbohydrates and fat, but today I thought we would talk about protein because as a sports nutritionist and someone that's a personal trainer, you probably get asked about this quite a lot. Like, I used to be a personal trainer as well, and it was one of the questions that I got asked a lot about was, should I be eating more protein? Should I be taking protein shakes? Like, someone's told me like I should be eating like this amount of protein every day, but I get to the end of the night and I feel so full, I feel like I'm going to burst because I've eaten like 5 chicken breasts for dinner and like all of these things.
So not necessary.
No. So we'll start
question.
this kind of mini macronutrient episode for talking about protein. So, first of all, what exactly is protein? Like, it's easy enough for me to sit here and say, like, let's talk about protein, but what exactly is it?
So protein, like you just said, is obviously one of the 3 main macronutrients in the diet, and macronutrient just means macro just comes from the term big, so it's just meaning one of the big nutrients that we need to include in our diet day to day. So the macronutrients themselves are protein, carbs, and fats, which we've obviously said we'll cover in another podcast. But each of the macronutrients provide the body with energy, but they also have a different role or many different roles of their own, as well as providing energy for us to keep going day to day. So it's something that we need to consider consuming every day on a regular basis in order to top up our energy levels, but also to get different health benefits from them at the same time as well. So when it comes to protein, the main thing the best way that I would say to describe it is that it's almost like the building blocks of our body. So it has a lot to do with how our body is able to grow and repair. So it's important throughout our lifespan, not just if we're someone that's physically active, but it's important throughout our whole life. We need to make sure that we're taking it also for immunity as well. Protein, or its building blocks are called amino acids, are involved in a lot of different processes with regards to our immunity and making up different things like hormones and things like that, and different antibodies that we need to be making sure we keep topped up. So it plays a huge role, and I think that's one of the myths I think that's quite important to bust, that it's not, protein isn't just a nutrient that people who hit the gym or do a lot of exercise needs to be something that that they just take. It's actually really important for everyone to take all throughout their life.
Yeah, so it, protein, just to kind of catch a little bit of what you said there, so protein is just as important for things like hormones and our immunity as well. Like, that's something that I would never have thought. Like, it's always, like, in my younger days before I studied nutrition, I would have thought, just protein's just for building big muscles.
yeah, and that's probably, you'll be the same, I'm sure, that as a PT, that's probably one of the things that many people are still under the impression of and think, if I eat protein, I'm just going to get big, and it's so not the case. It's important to eat the right amount for good health, but as we'll, I'm sure, touch on in a wee minute, is that it's important to make sure that you're eating enough for how physically active you are. But it's a nutrient that I would say is one that's really important for everyone, regardless of whether you exercise. It's just really important for health as well, for good organ function, and super important.
Super important. What are the best sources of protein then? So if we're talking about, because I know the people that are listening are not, they're not going into the supermarket looking to buy protein, they're looking to buy food. So what type of foods are classed as foods that are higher in protein than the other nutrients?
So the best sources that you're going to be able to get it in does tend to be your animal and your dairy products. They're going to be our richest source of protein, and they will also tend to be the ones that we consider as a complete source of protein. And all that means is that it's going to be giving our body the essential amino acids. So there's about a whole array of amino acids, and there's a certain number of them that are considered essential to the body, which means that our body can't make them itself. We actually have to get it through the diet that we eat. So meat and dairy products tend to give you all the amino acids that our body actually can't get through or can't make itself. The other kind of protein sources that you can have are going to be things like nuts, legumes, pulses, things like that, which are also good for someone who's following a vegetarian or vegan diet. But they tend to contain, or what we would call them as an incomplete source of protein, so they don't contain all the essential amino acids. So if you are someone that follows a vegetarian or a vegan diet, you want to make sure that you're combining different protein sources together in order to hopefully pair up different amino acids that come from different protein sources. So that sounds a wee bit like sciencey, but it's just you don't have to worry probably about, oh, this is going to be providing me with this fancy amino acids, this one's going to be providing me with this. It's more just making sure that you eat a variety of different protein foods a day, regardless of whether you're eating, dairy and meat products or not. Everyone should be eating a variety, but it's particularly important for someone who is vegetarian or vegan just to make sure that they do eat a mixture of protein-based foods.
That's I was just thinking that I couldn't. And I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but if you were, for example, if you were to say you were building a house and your body needed all the different materials in order to build the whole house, then by eating animal protein like chicken or beef or lamb or whatever, you would have all the building blocks to build the whole house. But if you were getting your protein from like a vegetarian or vegan source, you would need to combine all different types of foods in order to get all of those building blocks, because your body has like a reserve, doesn't it, of all the amino acids, and it picks the ones that it wants to make certain things.
So the way I often try and describe it to people is that the different amino acids that we've got, there's give or take about 20 of them, they almost are like the different letters of the alphabet.
Right.
So if you pair up obviously different letters of the alphabet, you'll make up different words, and it's kind of the same as that with amino acids. If you pair up different amino acids, you'll get kind of different types of protein. And the important thing that we are needing to do for someone who's vegetarian or vegan is just to make sure that we get the ones that our body can't make ourselves, and get them from different kind of vegetarian or vegan protein sources, and just making sure that we get a huge variety, because that's how we're going to get all of them in. The meat and dairy products are going to be where you get all the essential ones. So if you're cutting them out, it's just making sure that you eat a big variety as much as you can.
Yeah, I think that's really important. As someone who was vegetarian for a while, found myself becoming deficient in a few things.
That's where people, I think, especially this year, I don't know if it's just becoming a bigger trend, I would say now, for people to become vegetarian or vegan. And I think, albeit if that's what what folk are wanting to do, but I don't think it's a decision that should just be taken lightly. And I think that's where I've kind of come into difficulty with, or people that I have been given advice to have come into difficulties because they have maybe jumped into it thinking, oh, it's the best thing for their health, when it might not necessarily be. And it's making sure you're doing it for the right reasons, and also being mindful that if you are cutting out what you would normally be eating, you need to think about, what sources on a vegetarian or vegan diet are going to provide me with the nutrients that I'm going to be missing, with removing essentially what's quite a large food group, of meat and dairy products, if that's what you're excluding.
Absolutely. And for anyone that's listening that wants to know more about that, we've got an episode dedicated to that. So if you are vegetarian or vegan, or you're concerned about all the nutrients that you're getting, I can't remember the exact number of the episode at the minute, so I'm not going to say it in case it's wrong, but I will link to that one in the show notes as well if you want to go ahead and listen to that. So this is quite a broad question, and I know that will be different for different people, but is there like a number of like how much protein do we need to eat every day? Because you see people getting told, or you need to eat like for every kilo of body weight that you need to eat like a certain number of protein. And is that true?
I would say It can be, but I would say that for the majority of people, if they're managing to eat a well-balanced diet, particularly if there's someone that eats meat and dairy products, they're probably going to eat more than what their protein requirements actually are. Now, if we were to kind of go into like the sciencey bit of it, what we say in the UK is the reference nutrient intake is just the guidance of the amount of a nutrient that someone should or that people should take, which will hopefully meet the needs of the majority of the this certain population. So if we're talking about adults just now, roughly the amount that we would be looking for is about 0.75 grams per kilo, and all that means is 0.7 grams of the protein per kilogram of body weight. So if someone, for example, was 50 kilograms, you times that by 0.75, and that will give you a rough target of protein that you should be aiming for. Now, that's, like I said, for an average adult, but it will vary as you go through your life. So infants, children, things will need different amounts. So will folk that obviously exercise more, which we'll chat about in a wee minute, but also elderly populations, or even if you've got like a clinical condition, sometimes you'll be needing more in order to support that. So it's really difficult to give like a target amount, and that's where I think a lot of people get a bit confused, and I think where there's a lot of misinformation out there with a lot of people telling people to eat ridiculous amounts of protein when it's just really not necessary.
You can't see my face at the moment. If you're just listening to the audio, my face is looking a bit pissed off.
Yeah,
you do hear that a lot.
Yeah,
like you do. It's like eat more protein, and I was actually just watching a video on Facebook last night. That way where you're scrolling and you come across something it's going to annoy you, but you're watching it anyway. I don't even know who this person was. It was just one of these sponsored ads that comes up, personal trainer coach saying we don't eat enough protein. Protein is really important. Protein is really important. If you want to lose weight, you need to make sure you're eating more protein. And I think you said it a few minutes ago, in that if we're looking at a general population of the United Kingdom, most of us are getting enough protein.
Yeah.
If not, probably more than we need.
Yeah.
So, how much truth is there in that? Like, I think this is a really important thing to cover, because lots of other people that are listening to this will have heard this as well. Like, you must eat more protein. Another question I get asked a lot is, do I, or should my personal trainer or my coach, or I've just heard on the internet that to support my weight loss attempts, I've got to take protein shakes. These things that people drink that instead of eating. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a minefield.
It's
and I think I know we touched obviously on the different protein sources and things a minute ago, but I think it's remembering that they're like meat and dairy products are going to be your richest sources, and then I mentioned obviously some vegetarian and vegan sources as well. They're your richest sources, but you also get protein in a lot of other different foods that we eat. So you'll get small amounts in bread, you'll get small amounts in cereal, different things like that. So it'll add up. So it's not just coming from like the richest sources. So that's why a lot of people actually manage to eat over and above their target protein intake every day anyway. When it comes to the advice given by, like you said, maybe a lot of PTs or coaches, that it may help with weight loss, the only way that someone is going to be able to lose weight is if they're able to get themselves in a calorie deficit. So that's just meaning that the amount of energy that they are managing to eat from their food every day is less than the amount that they're actually burning off. So it's making sure that you actually get into this calorie deficit somehow. So I think from that point of view, protein may be useful in order to keep you full. So compared to some of the other macronutrients, protein is actually one that I would say the majority of people tend to find a very filling food to eat. That it's not actually that itself that is causing you to probably lose weight. It's not. It's just more that it's probably keeping you fuller, that it will stop you overeating as perhaps the day goes on. So it helps keeping you, either sticking to your main meals or keeps you fuller, that it stops you perhaps, taking too big a portion size or snacking on, extra things in between your meals that you maybe weren't planning on doing.
I think that's really important to just reiterate, is that it's not the nutrient itself that's causing you to lose weight. It's the effect that it has on your body, on the way you feel, on your satiety levels, all these things. And I think we'll probably cover that when we cover the fats and carbohydrates episodes as well, is that it's not them in particular, it's not those nutrients particularly that's causing you to gain or lose weight, it's the effect that they're having on your actual body. So
And it all, like I said, it all comes back down to that, getting into that calorie deficit. You know, and the fortunate thing with protein is that because it's quite a filling food, it provides you with actually quite a smaller number of calories per gram. So per gram of protein, you're getting 4 calories per gram of protein, compared to fat, which we'll touch on obviously on the other podcast, which is going to give you 9 calories per gram of fat. So it just means that the portion size that you're managing, you'll be getting less calories from it. And with it being a filling food, if you are someone who's looking to lose a little bit of weight, it means that per portion size, you'll not be taking in just as many calories from that point of view. And that's where we get the calorie kind of deficit, if that's what we're looking for, where that you want to be either consuming a little bit less than what you are actually needed in order to maintain your weight, or you're actually maybe burning a little bit more. So that could be whether you're someone that's if you're doing exercise, you're being active. So it's creating that calorie deficit somehow. And eating a protein-rich diet could be something that is useful, but it is not necessarily that nutrient that is causing you to lose weight. It's just that it's something that's keeping you probably fuller for longer in comparison to other foods.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for that. That's been enlightening. So just before we wrap up this episode, if someone who's listening would like to find out more about you, where can they go and what do they need to know?
So you can find me. I'm probably most active on my Instagram page, which is the Dietitian Kitchen, and I'm also on Facebook at the same contact as well. So that's probably the best places that you'll find me.
Excellent. I will link to all of these in the show notes. So if you're listening and you want to find out more, then go ahead and scroll down on whichever device you're listening to and click on any of the links there. It'll take you straight through. And thank you very much, Kerri, again for your time today.
Thank you.
I hope you've enjoyed that first instalment of our macronutrient myth-busting episodes with Kerri about protein. Thank you so much for listening. If you are a brand new listener to the podcast, please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. That's really important so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you're a frequent listener, if this is not your first podcast episode, please make sure that you go and leave a review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts for me. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, that would make my day. So, and it only takes 30 seconds out of your time, and I would super much appreciate it. So just another quick thing to tell you before you go is that we have our next Ditch the Diet Academy 5-day introductory programme starting on Monday the 4th of November. So if you're listening to this podcast on the day that it goes out, Thursday the 24th of October 2019, just a couple of weeks away, not even, we have our next 5-day introductory programme starting. So if you've always wondered what Ditch the Diet Academy is all about, then you can come along and find out. Spend 5 days with us, receiving some coaching from us, and then you can make the decision as to whether you think it's for you or not. All you need to do is go to ditchthedietacademy.com/5 days. That's number 5 in the word days. ditchthedietacademy.com/5 days. I'll put the link in the show notes as well for you. Thanks very much for listening. I'll be back next week with another episode of the podcast. Until then, have a great week ahead.